After the French Revolution, the new government abolished slavery. All right, so you have different forms of government that were all in conflict at the time throughout Europe, right? We have the idea of the republic. Then you have an emperor, right? Then you have the monarchies. Monarchies were directly connected to the, Catholic Church. So these were the ideas, right, of different conflicts. So Toussaint Louverture, right, chose republicanism. And he chose republicanism to maintain these relationships with France, right? So at this time, they were technically still part of the French Empire, and Toussaint was a governor, right? So he was supposed to look out for French interests. But Toussaint was more of a Haiti first kind of politician. So he would still do business with the U.S., right, as far as weapons trading, and he would still do business with the British or the Spanish. He really didn't care, right? He was a very good statesman, right? Organized the taxes throughout the different regions of the island. A year after he took control, sugar production was at 60%. The thing is, he had to maintain the slave system. These people weren't technically still slaves, because they did receive like a quarter or so of the harvest, right, that they could sell for themselves. So essentially like what a sharecropper would be. They had very few rights. So he had a lot of people turn against him. And one of those people were people like Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And Jean-Jacques Dessalines, surprisingly, used to be a slave of Toussaint. Toussaint also owned slaves. But he treated them well, and they had a good relationship. So Jean-Jacques Dessalines had a different concept of, how the island should be governed. He wanted to eliminate most of the Europeans. A lot of people turned against Toussaint in the sense of not supporting him, right? Because they were at constant war with these different European powers. People keep focusing on France, but they actually also defeated the British and the Spanish military as well. It was pure military genius. Essentially what the Haitian fighters would do would attack, retreat. The Europeans would follow them. They would wait for the rainy season. Once the rainy season came, yellow fever would break out, right? That would impact the Europeans, but really wouldn't impact the blacks as much. And then that's when they would attack. So they would wait till they were sick, and then they would come in and attack. So it was a great military strategy. It was just pure military genius. And that's how they were able to defeat all of these European powers. But once Napoleon took charge, and he looked at Toussaint as the biggest threat, obviously. Now, Toussaint didn't get support. So he had his soldiers, but he didn't get the usual support he would get. So he was captured, sent to prison, where he passed away, right? So now, Jean-Jacques, area of the island, he comes into power. He adapts the political strategy of an emperor, right? Crowns himself emperor. But the problem with an emperor and an empire is that it's parasitic. You have to conquer and tax people. That's the only way you generate revenue in an empire, as opposed to the republic. That's not necessary. Republic, you build relationships with other republics and do business with other republics, right? So once he decided to become an emperor, eliminate a lot of the Europeans on the island, still kept the slave system because that's the only economy at the time on the island. So the economy starts to collapse. He's becomes a tyrant essentially, and people turn against him, unalive him, right? Other Haitians unalive him, and that's the end of Jean-Jacques, right? Then you have Cristobal, and his political strategy was a monarchy. Crowned himself king, and appointed dukes and so on. Once again, the monarchy is an empire system, right? And it's parasitic. So that didn't do very well, and people turned against him, and he unalived himself, right? So when we talk about the revolutions, right, and what was going on, right, you have to think about the form of government. So even in the United States now with all the conflict, and you'll hear people say, these people need to leave, and then it's like, okay, who are you going to do business with, right? America doesn't make anything. American Revolution happened, Americans built things, right? America doesn't build anything. So you're going to have to do business with someone else, other countries. We kind of see what's happening now with the economy, right? So when people talk about revolution, when people talk about a particular movement or another, it's easy to talk. It's easy to say what you don't like, right? But when it comes to building a functional, productive government, that can't just be your ideology. This is what I don't like.